What's new from Apple? There's the new iPhone 16 Pro, built for Apple Intelligence. And it comes with the all-new camera control, giving you an easier way to quickly access your camera tools. The new Apple Watch Series 10 has our biggest display and our thinnest design ever. And this? It's the sound of active noise cancellation, now available on one of 2 new AirPods 4 models. So quiet. Check out all of the new products and new features at apple.com. You can even buy yourself something new. See apple.com for product availability updates. Apple Intelligence coming this fall.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Anfield Index podcast as we edge ever closer to episode 400. We'll get the exact one later on. You know I'm not good at that type of thing. I am Trev Downey. I'm still here in my field in beautiful rural Ireland. And I am delighted to be joined by my usual ally for this show at the moment, and hopefully soon by another of our ex-regular allies, Mr. Cam Brown. She's expressed an interest in coming back. But of course, for tonight, you've got myself and you've got the wonderful Lisa Marie Hanahan. How you doing?
I am very happy it is Friday, Trev. I don't know about you, but joining you here on episode 392 of the Anfield Index podcast, we are edging closer and closer to 400.
Yes, something I think must be done, as they say here. On a regular basis, something must be done. I'm going to put it out there. We'll actually most definitely have a word with Gags Tandon and Dave Hendrick, and maybe even see can we get a little cameo contribution from John Ritchie for the original Boys and see how we get on. But one way or the other, we will be doing something to mark that occasion, even if it is just to annoy the bejesus out of young Hendrick till he joins us for the entirety of an episode.
And that would be lovely, because as much as I chat with Mr. Hendrick back and forth, I've never actually been on a podcast with him. So.
Oh, no. There's something we have to put right. I like that. That's probably the easiest. That's probably the easiest way around having something of note for episode 400. But I think we'll try and come up with a few other bits and bobs as well. I don't know. We should. Let's just put it this way: we won't fill people in on the ridiculously middle-aged conversation I was having with you before the mics went live, where I was having a moan about all the various bits and bobs I've had to have done this week. 3 evenings out of the 5, I had some vaguely medical intervention or other, and you're like, oh my God, is this it? Of course, it's just bad timing and a run of stuff, or good timing as you try to get yourself sorted out as quickly as possible when you get to my age, I guess. But
our age, Trev.
Listen, I'm not going to drag you down with me, buddy. You know, that's not cool. So I just.
Well, it was very kind of you to not mention that. Yes, it is our age.
Well, you know, the point about it is that we don't just disappear into what our age looked like maybe a generation ago, and we keep living the dream of thinking that we're at least 15 years younger than we are, and that is very much my goal in life. Right up until I'm in my, I think I'll wait until I get to my sort of 80s, late 80s, and maybe even further on before I start embracing the full mental old man thing. I have it's a life goal of mine to become the crazy old guy, like properly crazy, like, you know, grow out the hair at the side of my head as long as possible, and you know, stand on corners and say sort of non sequiturs to people, go into shops and just shout. I actually am actively looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a tremendously liberating way to end my life. But until then, the fight against the aging process will go on. Damn it. Until I've decided that that's the future. Do you ever think, Lisa Marie, how liberating it would be to be a crazy old person? And you know, I mean, genuinely liberating. I'm not just something I'm saying. Imagine the freedom just going.
Oh,
you know,
it is the dream.
It is, and let me just couch that question a little bit. Like, I have absolutely gained a lot of that freedom I think since my mid-30s, but definitely since my early 40s, I have had a rule where I don't talk to people who waste my time, and I don't involve myself in conversations that are asinine or waffly or worse, offensive to me in any way, shape or form. You know, and when I say offensive, I don't mean they're saying something that I think is morally wrong. I mean, I just don't like it for whatever reason. So I've gotten very good at extricating myself. I've been perceived as borderline rude on occasion, and I couldn't give a damn. So I'm getting there, but I'm so many miles off it still. I still fall over backwards trying to be polite to most people. I just think it would be gorgeous to not have to worry about that.
Yeah, I think it's too ingrained in me. I you know, that would be lovely to just, you know, be able to say what I think and to tell people to just, you know, take a long walk off a short pier, but I think it's just too ingrained.
You can't even
do it. To be nice. Yes.
You can't do it. I think one of the most brilliant things I can think of as a reality is you with your, you know, sort of lovely folksy manner that you can put on there occasionally. I'm not saying put on as an act, but you know, that comes through occasionally, and that accent of yours and just the niceness that radiates from you normally. I think the idea of you being absolutely like a bitch on wheels is probably the best thing I can think of. You know, I would get a flight to see that.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I do have my moments, but you know, there are several little stereotypical Southern sayings that you know, you sound like you're being nice, but really it's
Really? I'm intrigued.
Oh, well, I can't tell you because then you'll know if I'm using them.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, yeah, that is the problem. I do love that idea of, you know, saying one thing with a different intention, but my way around that, like I think you were on a previous show, is obviously I'm a native Irish speaker, and what I do occasionally.
Yeah, there you go. You can just say it in another language.
Yes, I just say shit to people and they haven't a clue what I'm saying. You know, one guy really, really annoyed me, and I used that one. I think I've mentioned on the show before, which translates as "May your balls fall off on the night of your wedding," and I went away happy. You know what I mean? So that's all that matters.
Yeah, I'm gonna say you've got that advantage that you could just use some Irish phrase, and
yes,
probably the majority of people, and certainly if you weren't in Ireland, you were somewhere else, chances were they would have a clue what you were saying. So I do envy you that ability, because that would be lovely.
Yeah, the vast majority of my own countrymen and women haven't a clue what I'm saying either, so I can use it on them too.
Well, yes.
That's unfortunately the truth. So we have a return to all things football, proper football, on Saturday. Christ, that's tomorrow. And
No, it would be tomorrow, yes.
It is a good old traditional 3:00 on a Saturday kickoff. It reminds me.
So I don't have to get up at the crack of dawn. Yes. So it's 6-hour time difference. So that'll be 9 a.m. That's lovely.
Yes.
Very lovely. Yes.
Yeah, 9 a.m. is not very lovely, is it really? I mean,
Well, it's better than 6:30.
but like, I suppose what I'm saying to you is it's probably good that it's 9 a.m. At this stage of where you're at with your brood, because I'm sure in the past 9 a.m. on a Saturday, like for anyone who has younger kids, is crazy town.
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, there was many a year, when, as I was first getting into following Liverpool, that, 9 a.m. on a Saturday meant that I was at our local fields for somebody's game. I think by the time I really started following, just two of the kids were playing, but yes, there was many a time that, I'd have to go back and watch the game later because I was at my own child's soccer game. I know we call it soccer here. I know. But yeah, so that, their games were at 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever on a Saturday morning. So that's where I was. But yeah, and usually I'm up by 9 o'clock on a Saturday. I may not have, gotten out of my pajamas yet, but I am at least up, and, generally don't head out to run errands any earlier than say 10 if I need to. So, it's good.
People should understand though that when BT Sports or TNT, whoever, decide to put us on 12:30, which it's within a couple of weeks, it's one of those.
Right.
All people have to do is do the sums on that, which is, another 2.5 hours previous to that for you, which is distinctly unpleasant and altogether not nice, I would imagine.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we talked about this after the opening match of the season, the Ipswich match. The first half, I was technically awake and was watching, but I wasn't sure if, the fact that it was a little bit dull and it just if it was me, or what was actually happening on the field there. I think, it was more the team, but the second half was, much more interesting. And, again, I wasn't sure at the time if that was just because I was fully awake by then, or it had to do with, how the team was actually playing. So,
God bless coffee, right? God bless coffee. I mean, it's remarkable how.
Amen.
Yeah, I can't believe we've gotten to this stage of our podcasting career together, and I've never asked you really, because as we speak here, I'm sitting at this time of the evening, 7:20. I've just made myself a double strong coffee. And most people, I think, would consider that a move of intense foolishness, whereas I've always been someone who just enjoys coffee and it doesn't really have that knock-on effect. So the downside there is if I'm you and I'm in the States trying to get up to watch a match at all hours, it's not going to have the same kick in for me, but it's still nonetheless something I've become very much sort of low-key addicted to coffee. But I wondered, I never asked you, is it a big thing in your life? You have very specific coffee rituals? Are there specific coffees only that you'll drink, or are you just get that dark liquid into me, whatever it is?
Well, I do certainly have preferences. We have preferences here in the house. And it's funny too, because I grew up in a house where there wasn't even a coffee, maker. My parents weren't especially big coffee makers at the time, or coffee drinkers at the time, or my dad would just wait till he got, into his office, have a cup there. Now that's changed. They currently kind of shifted later in life, but
yeah. So does that mean you, like me, grew up with the only coffee you had was like freeze dried Nescafe or whatever? Yeah.
Well, that's it. I didn't touch coffee until at some point in college, really. Okay. later on. Because, again, there weren't the coffee shops and all the,
Yeah, of course.
Starbucks life and everything else that there is now. But no, I do need coffee to function
So
in the morning.
let me ask you. The important question is then, I've long since been a coffee junkie, like you, probably since college more than anything else, because in my house it was all about tea, and there's only so much of a kick you can get out of that absolute muck you put in jars. And you put it in with teaspoons out of jars. At the time, of course, I thought it was wonderful. I had a whole system where I would make a paste out of the coffee and the milk, and then add the water, and I thought I was so sophisticated. God love me. In my late teens, mid to late teens. But you hit college, and then people have to understand. I went to college several centuries ago, so the coffee was still quite unsophisticated then. But at least, as you say, it was a filter coffee, and I would not be terribly devastated if we had to go back to that tomorrow, because that's still I have great memories of that. That's still some of the best things. I was Agent Cooper from Twin Peaks going around, that's damn fine coffee. I was a real, if not connoisseur, appreciator. But I found myself now, I have a lovely machine here, and I bought myself a lovely machine for my classroom. That's how junky I am. And it's pods, right? It's the little espresso pods. I do that now, and I realize it's terrible for the environment and all the rest of it. My kid got me these reusable pods. So you put your standard coffee and you spoon it into it. Oh man, it's a load of faff. I need to get into it, but I don't. So I'm asking you, are you still old school filter, or do you have the pod at this stage as well?
This podcast is sponsored by Ramp. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. With Ramp, you get full visibility into your company's spending and control who spends what with each vendor. Ramp software collects and verifies receipts instantly to save your team valuable time. Ramp automates data entry and routine tasks with automated approvals, expense categorization and bill payments, time-consuming tasks. Which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. Get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/easy. Ramp.com/easy. RAMP.com/easy.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
We actually have a machine that'll do both. And so if it's just me or just Mr. H, we'll use the pods. But if like on a weekend morning where, we're both going to be drinking, we will make the filtered pot of coffee. 'Cause, we'll both be drinking on it. So, yes. So we did have the Keurig, machine with the pods, and it died a couple years ago. And I had seen that they had now come out with this one where, it did both. It was Keurig where you could do the, the single pods, or it was, you could make, pot of coffee. So So that's what we have. But we've taken it a step further. So for Christmas last year, Sean had been saying that he wanted an espresso machine. And so I got him one. I use it more than he does. Because now if it's just me usually in the morning, I'll make myself a latte. So,
Right. Hey, listen, I think you cannot have enough coffee technology in your house. And by the way, I'm so that already this little diversion that I just got mildly paranoid about that I was after leading you away from football again. So worth it. The line from you there, that, you know, you make a pot, and because obviously yourself and Sean will be drinking on it. Oh man, I'm all over that. Love that imagery. Right, let's get stuck into this.
It is a football podcast.
It is a football podcast. The first thing I want to talk to you about is obviously we start close to home. We start in the family, and tragically your honorary stepkid has got himself banged up. I spoke to Jan about it last night, and Jan was very much it was quite stark when I heard him talk about it, because he was emphasising the fact that it's real blow, not necessarily for Liverpool, though of course it is, not to have a player of Harvey's quality, but for the kid himself, because as the team established itself under a new manager, he's out of the loop. He already had found himself slightly in the cold in terms of, by comparison with the Jurgen years, where he just played every game in some way, shape or form. He's been very much in the cold. He's only played a handful of minutes at the end of matches, coming in very sort of small little roles. So it's tough on him now. Not only did he get the setback of maybe having the giddy hope that he'd be called up for the senior squad at England, now he's back in 21s, and on 21s duty he gets injured. It's got to suck, and now it looks like he could be out for a period of time, probably up as far as the next international break if it doesn't go right, or even if it does go right by the time he's gotten himself back up to speed and ingratiated back into the group. So it's a bad old blow for the kid.
Yeah, it is unfortunate for him. And I mean, as you were saying that, I was just thinking that, you know, a few years ago when his ankle got mangled at that Leeds game, which I think was when he started being referred to as my fourth child, because I think that just hit me so hard. I think I had mentioned to y'all that I feel like one of my kids has been hurt, and I
yes,
think that's the origin of how Harvey became my fourth child. But he was kind of at that same sort of, he had the previous season, he'd been out on loan, and, you know, this was looking like his opportunity to kind of start breaking into the team. And of course, you know, then he got that ankle injury and had to kind of work his, you know, not just recover from it, but kind of then work his way back in. So it feels a little bit similar. Now, hopefully it will time out to where, you know, maybe where he's, you know, the break has, because I think it is a break of some sort in his foot, has healed to the point. I'm kind of hoping it does time up like just before that next international break, because then maybe obviously he won't be called away, you know, to play with the England, you know, under 21s or even the likely if he's called up at this point, that's probably who it'd be, just because he won't be playing, you know, in the senior squad. But that'll give him that, you know, 2 weeks or whatever, maybe to get his, you know, back up to hopefully to where he can, you know, once the games come back after that break, he can get back in. So that's what I'm kind of hoping, that it does sort of time out that way for him. But, you know, who knows? I think, and again, I have enough information here to be dangerous. You know, breaks like that, they can tell you 4 to 6 weeks, but sometimes it can just take longer. So, you know, fingers crossed that it is, you know, it's shorter rather than longer, and there's still quite a bit of season ahead, you know, to where he can get rotated back in, you know, into the team and have his opportunity to prove himself.
Yeah, it seemed, didn't it, that listening to, I know we have similar listening material and that we both very religiously tune into young Hendrik, and I know you listen to a lot more of the content on the channel than I do, just because of the nature, I think, of trying to juggle so many other things and have so many other interests. I have restricted myself to quite small amounts of actual football content, but it seems to me from listening to other people and even just talking There's a lot of, as you know, I have a lot of work colleagues who are Reds. It seems that there's a kind of conception that Harvey can only play in a couple of places. I've always sort of found myself mentally railing against that a little bit, and I'll tell you why. One of the so-called, well, it's not so-called, one of the actual sort of maybe downsides to him as a footballer is that he's probably not got that pace that you'd like to see from an attacking player. But I always feel that he makes up for it with his ability to retain the ball. I think he's got as assured a touch as almost anyone on that team. And you know, that's saying something. We've a lot of great technicians. He, to me, seems really, really good from a technical perspective, retains the ball well, can pass. He's got great vision, can really execute a great pass, cross, or a diagonal ball, or whatever it happens to be. And so I feel that kind of frees him up to be a lot of different things. I think he can play a lot of different places across the midfield. He's possibly a little bit restricted by his lack of pace as one of the attackers, but it depends, doesn't it, really, again, on the system we're playing and whether he needs to be skinning a man and going down the line and getting to the byline and crossing it over. He's never going to be that guy. But he can always be the clever type of winger who cuts in, and you just can't stop cutting in and getting his cross in anyway. So I just don't think it's the prediction for Harvey not being able to fit back in. I don't buy it. I think he's very, very adaptable in that way.
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, when I hear that a little bit, you know, from various sources, I feel like they're selling him a little bit short, because I think he is more versatile than he's sometimes given credit for. And, you know, we've seen him over, you know, the last couple seasons, you know, slot into a couple different, you know, various roles, be it in the midfield, in the front line. And the little bit I know from how he has played for, you know, for the England team is he's played even, you know, maybe a slightly different role there. I don't know enough about it to, you know, to speak to it in any detail. So I think he does have, as I said, more versatility than I think he's given some credit for. And I also think, and again, I don't know him personally as much as, you know, I'd like to think of him as my fourth child. He strikes me as the type of player who will play any position they ask him to. That he's not going to be like, oh no, I'm just, you know, I just play on the right side or whatever. I mean, I think if they asked him to play left back, he would do it. So to me, that is a, you know, additional tools in his tool chest, you know, if you will, for things that he potentially can do. Yes, no, he may not be great at all of those positions. He's obviously going to have, you know, spots that he's going to be better than others, but I think his work rate and his just tenacity and desire makes him a player that you know, can be played across a couple different places, you know, as needed, and is certainly willing to do anything that he's asked to do.
I think so, and I'm hoping that it'll be speedy recovery. You know, he does have that advantage of being some 3 decades younger than
I was going to say, youth is on his side.
Yeah, that's got to stand for a lot. So hopefully we'll see him back in the running soon, and maybe surprising a few people with how he pushes Arne to include him in the team. Because I genuinely believe we've got a really quality footballer there. There's a few things I want to get to, but the one I don't want to miss out on is obviously we return to Champions League action during the week, and it's quite exciting in its own way. There's a couple of things here. The first game obviously is over in Milan against AC Milan, 8 o'clock. Liverpool, AC Milan. No matter what way you picture that, it is just one of the great fixtures of European football. There's no two ways about it. One of the great fixtures of world football. Obviously, there's tremendous tradition there with 2 Champions Leagues in the recent memory of a lot of people, and you know, fought between the 2 clubs. And you know, again, if you're sort of my vintage, you go back to the late 80s, early 90s, and AC Milan were just probably by far the best club in the world and were able to be that because, unfortunately, Liverpool could not challenge them for supremacy at the time, when I think they too had a shout at being the best club in the world. The Liverpool of my youth, the Liverpool of Kenny Dalglish in his first spell as manager, with John Barnes and Peter Beardsley and John Aldridge and Ray Howden and all these incredible attacking footballers, where it just felt, just let us have a crack at that AC Milan squad. But Milan back then were just, because Italian football was on TV, because the Italian league was seen as being the premium one across Europe, they really had this swagger and all these superstars stockpiled in a way that we see still obviously going on with certain clubs. So it's got this great cachet. But here's the thing for me. I know you're obviously in a position where it's obviously something's far rarer for you. But I found myself thinking, last year we had heard the San Siro was going to be gotten rid of, and they were going to move into a whole new modern stadium and all that. And it seems to have gotten a reprieve, which I find myself, I said this to Jan last night, breathing a sigh of relief, because it's one of the great theatres of football that I haven't gotten a chance to get to, because, again, European privilege. I get to get in a comparatively shitty, cheap Ryanair flight, go to a city and go to a match. And I've made a point of doing that because I wanted to see. But San Siro's eluded me. Now, I won't get to it this year, but I'm very glad that it's still there. I mean, the thing I wanted to ask you was, aside altogether from Liverpool's current Champions League thing, I know you're obviously very anxious to get over and get to Anfield, but if you could sort of have a mystery tour gifted to yourself and Mr. H, where you could come over for a week and get a European match in somewhere, like, where would you go? Would it be Madrid and go to see Real? Would you like to see Barcelona in Barcelona? Like, or is there something altogether different that you'd like to do? Like, if you could go somewhere and take in both the culture of the place and the team, particularly in the stadium, from what you've seen of these great stadiums, where would you go?
Oh, that's a good question. Now I think Milan would certainly be up there, because AC Milan is one of the teams that himself follows sort of, outside of Liverpool. I mean, and if the match is on at a time or whatever, we'll often put them on, mostly because the Italian side of his family is originally from Milan, so little kinship there, a couple generations ago, but still. So Milan would certainly be on the list, but I do think there would be something about either Barcelona or Madrid, just because Barcelona is certainly a city I would like to visit anyway. So I think it would be part of just that kind of cultural experience over there in Spain would be probably to go to Barcelona, and but Madrid, yeah, one or the other, likely would probably be my first pick of somewhere to sort of go experience kind of the Champions League outside of Liverpool.
I've been lucky enough to get to both of those places, actually Camp Nou a couple of times, and great, memorable, fantastic, and I actually got to see that incredible Barca team with Messi and Ronaldinho and all the rest of them. When I say we were up in the gods, I mean it really felt like we were in a different place. And we went out this balmy evening. By the time we got to the top where our seats were, it was fucking freezing. So it just a wild experience, but lovely to be able to do it. But speaking of freezing, I think my favorite ever away, or like a trip away to see a match, and like I say, European privilege, I've been lucky. There's quite a list. But myself and my pal Al went over to Prague, essentially on a jolly up, I'll be honest. We got like, we do football tours, so we got this sort of inspection tour as a way to say thank you. So, go over, check out a game, see if you want to come back and bring, people over here on a tour. So we get to go to Prague for free, which is great. So we went over and we went to see Sparta Prague play as part of our, let's just say everything else in the weekend was far more debauched. This was the pure experience. Pure experience was watching Sparta Prague play. It was so cold, we took in turns to go to the coffee stand to buy cups of coffee that we could just hold. I've never been so fucking cold in my entire life, and I'm from a wet and dreary part of the world, but my God, it was freezing, and literally the coffee was a lifeline to hold on to bring our coffee imagery full circle. As you look at these European fixtures, and I mean, it is quite the list. It's 8 games. I don't think people are ready for how interminable this is going to feel. I don't think people are ready for the weirdness of it continuing past Christmas.
Yeah.
It's an odd old structure, and the games are pretty regular. We've got Milan on Tuesday. We get Bologna then on the 2nd of October. That's at Anfield. We head off over to Leipzig on the 23rd of October. We have Leverkusen visit us on the 5th of November. Real come calling on the 27th of November. Then we head off to Girona to play them on the 10th of December. And that should be it. The group stage should be over. But no, we'll come back out of January, right? Yeah, exactly. Come back out of January, back into the season. And the season will start with 2 more of the games. At home to Lille on the 21st. And then the 29th of January is when we finish away at PSV, which could be a huge game against Dutch opposition for Arne Slot, depending on what position we found ourselves in. Jan is very bullish about our chances of finishing where we need to finish in the bigger league to ensure that we're in that group. And on paper, I entirely agree with them. We should be more than good enough to do this. But it's quite a daunting schedule for a new manager who's trying to take on a new league and take on this incredible challenge as well, where, if we're being honest, due to lack of experience in it, he hasn't had exactly a tremendous amount of success. 6 games in Champions League, 4 defeats. Probably unfair to judge his track record because you have to be in the frickin' thing to get some wins under your belt. But I feel it's a big ask for us and him, right?
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
A great workout deserves a great reward. Treat yourself right with new coconut smoothie bowls made with fresh fruit, purely Elizabeth granola, and now creamy coconut. You earned it. Grab a treat you can feel good about, only at Smoothie King.